Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for this live webinar in partnership with L&Q. I'm Jade Turnstall from Share to Buy and I'll be hosting today's session alongside Andrea, Nikki and Francesca from L&Q. However, just before I pass over to our speakers, I wanted to run through some quick housekeeping and introductions for the session. Firstly, our speakers are going to be running through their presentations before opening up to a live Q&A session, which will last around 10 to 15 minutes. So if you have any questions for our experts, please pop them in the chat tool to the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll get through as many as possible at the end of the session. So if you're looking for that, there's just a couple of little speech bubbles with the word chat underneath it. It's also worth keeping an eye on the offers tab on the right-hand side, as we'll be sharing some links with you to engage with during the webinar. And today's session will also be recorded and shared with you afterwards. So don't worry if you happen to miss anything along the way. We'll make sure that you have access to the recording once the webinar has ended. So to get things started, today's webinar is a chance to learn all about shared ownership, London living rent and shared ownership resales from the L&Q team. The session will be hosted by Nikki Clark, Senior Sales Associate, who you can see on screen with me here, Francesca Perbrick, Director of Home Ownership, and Andrea Palmer, Head of LLR. Whether you're ready to step onto the ladder with shared ownership or need a little extra time to save for that all-important deposit with LLR, today's session will sift through the jargon to help explain how to make the most of affordable housing schemes in the capital and beyond. So a little bit about L&Q before we get started. L&Q is one of the UK's leading housing providers with over 60 years of experience in the housing sector. They currently house over 250,000 people in more than 105,000 homes across London, the South East and the North West of England. As a registered charity, L&Q are a non-profit organisation with social purpose at the heart of everything they do. So with this in mind, today's session is designed to help inform you all about the various paths to home ownership from the experts themselves. And that's pretty much it for me for now. I'll be back at the end of the presentations for the Q&A, but in the meantime, I'll pass you over to Nikki at L&Q.
Hello everyone, I'm Nikki Clark, Senior Sales Associate for L&Q. I'm going to talk to you today about shared ownership, and if you have any questions, please do pop them in the chat box and I'll answer at the end. We currently have over 30 live schemes across London and the home counties, anything from studios up to 3-bedroom homes. You'll find a list of our available homes on the L&Q website, and you'll be able to register for the developments you're interested in. So what is shared ownership? Shared ownership is a government subsidised scheme and literally means you'll own a share of the property you're purchasing. Initially, you'll buy between 25 and 75%, depending on affordability. Most people do start at 25%. Your mortgage will be on the value of the share you buy, and your mortgage deposit, minimum 5%, will be on your share value. You'll pay rent to L&Q on the share that we own, the remaining 75% in most cases. Standard shared ownership rent is 2.75% of the unsold equity, i.e. 2.75% of the bit that L&Q still owns. Therefore, the higher the share you buy, the lower the rent you pay. Something to look out for, we sometimes reduce the rent percentages to below 2.75%, and this can make quite a big difference to your monthly outgoings. The other main monthly cost will be the service charge. You'll pay this to the management company, which is often L&Q, and that's to take care of the cleaning, maintenance and upkeep of all the communal parts. I'm going to give you a real working example of the core monthly costs on a typical 2-bed apartment at Acton Gardens, one of our schemes in West London. This is a central location with good transport links, under 10 minutes walk to both Tube and London Overground stations. Generally speaking, the further out you go, the less you'll pay in terms of full market value. So for this, we're going to assume you're buying a 25% share. The full market value is £525,000. So the amount of your mortgage will be based on £131,250. You'll need a deposit of at least 5% on that, and this works out at £6,562. Your monthly mortgage payments will be agreed with your mortgage provider and will depend on your financial circumstances. But for our example, the monthly mortgage payment is around £700. You'll pay rent to L&Q on the remaining 75% share, And in the case of Acton Gardens, the rent is reduced on the 2 beds to 2.25%, making the monthly rent £738. And the service charge is £257 per calendar month. So the combined mortgage, rent and service charge would be around £1,695 per calendar month, requiring a minimum annual income of around £64,000 before tax. And just to say, there are other schemes, Hayes Village, for example, where the minimum income for a 2-bed is more like £50,000. The minimum incomes we advertise aren't set in stone. If your income is lower, but you have a sufficiently high deposit, it may work out. A very rough rule of thumb: if your income is lower than the minimum required, take the difference between the minimum required and your actual income, multiply by 4, and that will tell you approximately the deposit you'll need. I can't stress enough, there is no substitute for checking with a financial advisor. This is just a useful indicator when you're house hunting. The core monthly outgoings are normally less on a shared ownership purchase than if you were privately renting a like-for-like property. So a 2-bedroom apartment in Acton Gardens, for example, privately rents for in excess of £2,000 per calendar month. You can buy more shares as you're financially able to do so, meaning you could eventually own the property outright, and this is called staircasing. To qualify for shared ownership, there are 3 separate factors to consider. The general eligibility, this is defined by the government, and you need to meet the general criteria to be accepted for any shared ownership scheme. You can complete the shared ownership application form on our website to confirm your eligibility, but conditions include: your household income must be £90,000 or less in London, £80,000 or less outside of London. You can't own or part own a property at the point of legal completion, and you must be 18 years or older. Affordability is different for everyone and depends on your income, financial commitments, and the value of the home you want to buy. The combined costs of mortgage, rent, and service charge should be no more than 40% of your net take-home pay, 45% with managerial approval. Local authorities sometimes set their own rules in terms of allocating homes, prioritising people who already live or work in the area, for example. This can affect whether or not we're able to offer you a home. It will rarely exclude you, but if it's a launch event where we typically have lots of viewings on the same day, you may lose out to somebody that's considered a priority. So in terms of steps, you'll need to complete the online L&Q shared ownership application form on our website. If you're purchasing a home with a friend or partner, remember to complete the joint application section of the form. Once you've found a development you like, simply register your interest on the website, book a viewing and visit the show home. You can reserve your home with a payment of £500 and homes will be allocated based on priority. At this stage, we'd normally expect you to have completed an initial brief affordability check with one of our financial advisors. Once you've paid your reservation fee, we'll verify your identity, and if all's well, we'll arrange the remainder of the reservation paperwork. When you accept our offer of a home, it will be subject to full financial assessment with an independent mortgage advisor on L&Q's approved panel. They can also arrange your mortgage application for you. Everyone who buys a home needs to appoint a conveyancing solicitor to work on their behalf. We can provide details of solicitors who specialise in shared ownership. It is an advantage to use a solicitor that has experience on that particular development. Once you've passed your financial assessment, we'll send a memorandum of sale, this is the sales particulars, and let you know what your target exchange deadline is. Usually this is 28 days from the issue of the memorandum of sale. Your solicitor will start working on your case once L&Q's solicitor sends them the legal pack. The exchange of contracts is the legal part of the process that ties us both into the transaction, and completion is normally 10 working days after exchange. Your solicitor will tell your mortgage lender the agreed completion day, and the lender will send them the mortgage funds. You'll also receive a completion statement listing the balance of funds that you yourself need to transfer to your solicitor. The completion statement is basically an invoice, and it will itemize what you've already paid, reservation fee, for example, and what still needs to be paid, balance of legal fees, upfront rent, and service charge, for example. Your solicitor will send the outstanding balance over to L&Q solicitor, and once received, legal completion happens and we can give you your keys. This is obviously the nicest part of the process for us and for you. We'll meet you at your home and hand over your keys, and you'll have a home welcome appointment with our customer care team who will give you an induction into your new home. Generally speaking, there are 4 main costs associated with buying a shared ownership home, and we're providing a link to our shared ownership guide where you can see more detail around this. The reservation fee is a one-off fee to secure your home, usually £500, and it's refunded at the end unless you withdraw. Buying costs are all third-party costs associated with buying a home, including solicitors' fees, mortgage costs, moving fees, etc., and this normally comes to around £5,000. Your deposit is a contribution towards your mortgage. It's normally 5 to 10% of the share you're purchasing, but can be higher depending on your savings and or gifted deposit. Stamp duty is a government tax paid upon purchasing your home, and you may be able to claim stamp duty tax relief if you're a first-time buyer. You can see the government website and check with your solicitor for more details on this. We really do encourage feedback on our customers' experience to improve our service, and you'll find some helpful case studies on our website where buyers share their stories. To summarise, shared ownership is a fantastic way of getting your foot immediately on the housing ladder, and is especially appealing now that private rents have risen so dramatically. For many, though, saving a deposit whilst paying such high rents is just impossible. And on that note, I'll hand you over to Andrea, who's going to talk to you about London living rent. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks, Nikki, and hi, everybody. If you're not quite ready to buy your first home, L&Q offers the London Living Rent Scheme. It's founded by the Mayor of London and otherwise known as LLR. This is an affordable scheme, and it's aimed to help renters save towards a deposit to buy their first home. So renting through LLR can sometimes be up to 50% less than renting privately, which helps you save extra money each month, which can then go towards buying a home through shared ownership or the open market. The amount that you'll pay depends on the location of the home that you wish to rent, and to ensure that LLR remains an affordable option for renters in London, the Mayor publishes benchmark rent levels for every neighbourhood in the capital, each of which is updated annually. These rents are set at a third of average local household incomes and adjusted for the number of bedrooms in each home. In most boroughs, this will be a significant discount to what you'd expect to pay at market level rents. There are some eligibility criteria that apply when renting an LLR home. 1, you must currently live or work in London. 2, you have a maximum household income of £60,000 per year. 3, you're currently renting either formally in the private sector or informally with family and friends. And 4, you do not currently own a residential home, or you cannot currently afford to buy a home, including through the shared ownership scheme that Nikki described. The process of renting an LLR home can be broken down into 10 easy steps. So once you've found a home that you'd like to rent, you will complete an application form. Your details will be shared with an independent financial advisor who will initially check that you can afford the property that you've inquired about. Once assessed, our friendly team of lettings associates will take you on a viewing and show you around your chosen development. After the viewing, you'll be asked to complete an expression of interest form, usually within 48 hours. And from here, full financial referencing and right to rent checks will take place, ensuring that you can rent the desired home. You'll then sign your tenancy agreement, pay your deposit, and then arguably the best bit, we'll give you your keys details of our property management team, and of course, any other contacts that you may need for once you've moved in. At present, we've got homes available at 5 developments, and these are indicated by the navy pins on the screen. In Walthamstow in East London, we have The Chain, where studio apartments are available for 1197 per month. In Stratford, L&Q at Chobham Manor has a final 3-bedroom apartment available at £1,400 per month. Over in West London, we have L&Q at Hayes Village, which offers studio apartments from £814 a month. In Nine Elms, Southwest London, L&Q at Lexington Gardens currently has 1-bedroom apartments from £1,300 per calendar month. And finally, further south, 1- and 2-bedroom apartments are available to rent from 1196 at L&Q Queen's Quarter. If these locations aren't right for you, the purple pins indicate our coming soon developments, which currently span from Barking all the way over to Hendon. And it's important to note that availability is subject to change, so it's a really good idea to register for schemes via the LQ Homes website so that we can keep in touch with our latest offers and availability. Our spotlight scheme for this month is L&Q at Queen's Quarter. It's located in London's Borough of Culture for 2023, and here you can rent 1- or 2-bedroom apartments, priced, as I mentioned, from 1196 per month, and that's for a 1-bed apartment with a minimum income of £41,525, where you'll receive brand new appliances included at no extra cost, where each home comes with private outdoor space and access to a residence terrace. It overlooks the refurbished Queen's Gardens and is only an 8-minute walk from East Croydon Station and Box Park. At the end of your initial 3-year tenancy, you'll have the option to either extend or renew. But if you're ready to purchase, we have a panel of independent financial advisors on hand who can help advise you on your options and your next steps. Really, one of the main benefits of renting an LLR property is that you can purchase the place that you already call home through the shared ownership scheme. And we do have a dedicated and friendly home ownership team on hand to help you with your journey to becoming a homeowner. So with that in mind, I'll pass over to Francesca, our Director of Home Ownership.
Thanks, Andrea. My name is Francesca and I'm the Home Ownership Director at L&Q, and I'm going to take you through a little bit about resales and staircasing. At L&Q, we offer pre-owned shared ownership homes, also known as resale homes. These can be anything from traditional houses, masonettes, flat conversions, or flats within a large development. Unlike our new build homes, where you'd buy initial share from 25% to 75%, with a resale home, you'll buy the percentage that the current owner is selling, but you can also buy more if you can afford to, up to 75%. Viewings of resale homes take place with a current owner, allowing you to ask any questions that you may want about the home, the local area or amenities, and the current owners can share their in-depth knowledge with you, which is something you can't do with our new build homes. Our resale homes availability changes week to week, so to find out more, visit our website where you can view all of our current resale homes and also register your interest to receive our weekly alerts. Currently, we have over 70 homes available across the capital and Greater London. Current prices start from just about £60,000, and favourable mortgage options may be available to you on these pre-owned homes, although this isn't guaranteed. You can speak to any one of our panel of independent financial advisors to find out more. Some of our homes are also still within the build warranty, providing excellent energy efficiency. Should you decide to sell your shared ownership home, we have a dedicated in-house team that will aim to allocate a new buyer for you within 4 weeks. Our home ownership team will arrange for photos, floor plans, and an interactive video to be taken of your home. Then our marketing team will ensure the property is listed on all of the major property portals. They will also send out dedicated marketed emails to our vast database to hopefully secure you a buyer. Our team is successful in finding a buyer to around 80% of the resales properties that we market, but should you wish to, you can choose to sell your property outright on the open market after the agreed 4-week window. Once you've bought your shared ownership home with us, you may find that after some time you are able to afford to purchase additional shares in the property and increase your ownership. The process of this is called staircasing. You can also sell the share you own at any time, and our dedicated resales team will be able to assist you with this. There is no timescale or requirement to staircase, and it's completely up to you if you'd like to staircase and when. You have 3 separate opportunities to staircase up to a full 100% ownership. The minimum share you can staircase by is 10%, and each increase must be either a 5 or 10% multiple. The third and final transaction must take you up to 100% ownership. Some helpful things to know about staircasing is staircasing transactions will be based on the value of your home at the time of the transaction, not the original purchase price. An independent risk valuation will be required. You'll also need to consider the cost of legal fees and any additional mortgage fees you will incur. With shared ownership houses, upon final staircasing, you will usually receive the transfer of the freehold. And your lease will contain information that explains how to staircase, and you can also view our website where there is a wide range of useful information on staircasing, or you can always call the team to discuss your options. Thanks for listening today. I will now take you back to Jade for our Q&A session.
Hi, thank you so much. That was all really informative. We have had so many questions through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the slide for now. We're all going to come back for the Q&A, and then we're going to jump straight into it. We're just going to make sure that we have Andrea. Perfect. So thank you so much. Again, really, really informative and tons of questions. So we're going to get through as many as we can for you all. Right, where to start? So shared ownership. Nikki, we'll start with you. We've actually had a couple of questions about whether you're able to rent out a spare room and whether you can take in a paying lodger in a shared ownership home.
Okay, yes, you can. So that's absolutely no problem at all. We won't deal with that person. It's you that will have to contact us if there are any queries about the home and so on. But it's absolutely fine to do that. What we can't do is take that income into consideration when we're assessing you for affordability. So we have to use the Homes and Communities Agency calculator to assess your affordability, and that will just be on your financial position alone, even though you might be able to rent a bedroom out for £800,000 a month even.
Fantastic. So you can still have someone move in kind of retrospectively, help you towards the bills, but
Absolutely.
just when you're going through that kind of financial assessment, their income won't be taken into consideration.
Absolutely. So in the first instance, if you can afford to buy a home plus 1 bedroom to your requirement, it's really worth it. It future-proofs you.
Fantastic. Just before I move on as well, I can see that there's a few people in the chat saying that they've had some technical issues, some, weren't seeing slides being moved along in a couple of instances. Don't worry, we're going to have the full recorded version of this go live afterwards. If you have missed anything, I'm very sorry about the tech issues, but you will be able to access it afterwards as well. And then jumping over, so still on shared ownership, but on Frankie's side with the resales, at what point can you actually start buying more shares in your home? So more so like the staircasing side of things. Is there a kind of time period?
No, so this can actually be done straight away. So yeah, there's no time limit at all. You can do it straight away, or you don't ever have to staircase, or you could do it in 2 years, 5 years. Yeah, it's completely up to the person.
I think that's really good to know, because actually sometimes people see staircase and they think it's a mandatory thing, but you can buy 25% of a shared ownership home and just stay with that 25%. And yeah. I think that's really good to know that there is very much an optional, it's not a compulsory. And then, brilliant, over to Andrea, London Living Rent. So again, loads and loads of different questions. Obviously, the main kind of part of London Living Rent is helping you to save towards buying a property, whether it be the property that you're in. Will I need to save a minimum amount each month?
No, we don't. We don't encourage or dictate you'll have each month. But what we do as part of the application process is we will put all of our applicants in touch with financial advisors who will run through their financial circumstances and ascertain what their net disposable income is at the end of any given month and how much they're inclined to save. So the short answer is no, there isn't a specific minimum, but the longer answer is that with LLR, the more you save, the quicker you can move to home ownership.
Fantastic. Just to say as well, Andrea, your video is a little bit glitchy for me. You're okay to leave it on, but we can hear you absolutely fine. So again, sorry if anyone's having any technical issues in the the chat tool and the kind of attendees, we're very sorry about that, but as long as you can all hear us, that's perfect. Lovely. Okay. And then back to shared ownership. Is there a minimum salary for shared ownership? So obviously maximum we have 90,000 income in London, 80,000 outside of London, but is there a minimum, Nikki?
It just depends on the development that you're looking for. So as I said in my run through, the minimum incomes we advertise aren't set in stone. So it's the whole financial picture we look at, including savings. Some people have a salary of £30,000, but are lucky enough to have 100,000 in deposit, and that will open up areas to them. So we look at the individual developments. So not per se, but on average for a 1-bed in London, a minimum income would be from about 40,000 plus minimum deposit. And for a 2-bed, more like sort of 55, 60,000 pounds.
Okay, yeah, it's really good to have those kind of benchmarks just to keep in mind. But as you say, it's very much property specific, and there'll obviously be valuations on each home. So exactly that, just going through the financial assessments and making sure that you can afford the property that you're interested in. Just have a look. Sorry, we've got so many questions coming through. Thank you so much for everyone's engagement. This is really, really good. It was a really interesting session, so it's nice to see everyone so engaged. For Frankie, if you want to staircase, does your salary have to increase as well? For example, if your salary is still the same as at the time when you first purchased, but you've saved to buy a larger share, would they still be able to staircase? So is it mandatory that they can prove that their salary has increased before buying more shares?
No, so this is actually a really good question, because a lot of people assume they can't staircase because their circumstances haven't changed, when actually just by having more equity in a home, which obviously generally if property prices are going up, that you have more equity, and that is used to then buy more shares. So I'd really encourage anyone, each time you are looking to maybe change your mortgage, maybe your fixed rate has ended, go back to the financial advisor that maybe helped you in the first place, and it's very likely you'd probably be able to buy it, even if it was just another 20%, 25%, purely based on equity that you make.
Fantastic. There was a few questions about equity and stuff in there, so that's brilliant to hear. So it's not about saving money or increasing your salary. It's actually about the equity you're building in your home and in the shares that you already own.
Fantastic. Yeah, and it also could be, that your outgoings of maybe you had a loan that you now don't have. So it can also be that your outgoings have got lower.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Frankie. And then back over to Andrea, London Living Rent. What happens if I'm in a LLR home and change my mind about buying that property? Can I extend my lease? So I'm not sure if this person means changes their mind completely and they no longer wish to buy, or if they're thinking about buying a little bit further down the line, but essentially about kind of extending your tenancy within an LLR home.
Okay, so the maximum period that you can rent an LLR property is 10 years in total, but we do offer 3-year tenancies throughout that duration. There's no obligation to buy the property that you're renting. Of course, we would love you to. We hope that you love the property that you live in, but there's no obligation to do that. And actually, the money that you save, you can take to then purchase elsewhere. In terms of extension, once your 3-year tenancy has ended, we will contact you and offer you a renewal, as long as you've been meeting the terms of the tenancy agreement.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And then a question that we've had it for both shared ownership and LLR, so I'll ask, it comes up every single webinar, can I have pets in an L&Q home? So Nikki, if we start with you on the kind of shared ownership side of things, do L&Q have any specific policies, or is it development based?
It is development based, but if it's an L&Q development, if we have the freehold, L&Q changed our pets policy as a result of COVID, actually, to recognise how important pets are to people's peace of mind. So if it's an L&Q site, or an L&Q freehold site, then it's up to 2 dogs and 2 cats without our permission. Oh. And if we don't have the freehold, if we're not managing the scheme ourselves, then that is dependent on that particular builder or management company. So a working example of that would be Western Circus, where it's a Barrett scheme. Pets aren't allowed per se, but you can apply for a pet license. So it would depend. I mean, you know, no giraffes, thank you. But if it was a house cat, then likely as not, it would be allowed, but you have to pay a fee and fill out a form, basically. So you must check individually for the developments you're looking for.
Lovely. And what about LLR, Andrea? Are pets allowed in those properties?
It's the same answer. Frankie's done all the work for me. All the work's been done for me. The tenure is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's shared ownership, if it's LLR, if it's private sale. It's development specific, as explained. So it's the same applies.
Fantastic. We're going to have a lot of happy people in the chat because that comes up every time. We're a nation of pet lovers. And I think, yes, bearing in mind, you know, if you're looking for these properties, L&Q have a great policy there, 2 dogs, 2 cats, that's plenty, that's a lot of animals, but it's just making sure that you check with the relevant sales teams if you're going anywhere else. And a lot of the time it kind of is very contextual about the property. So if you have, again, like I said, a house cat, then if you're in a top floor apartment, that's probably fine. But some providers might have an issue with you having an Alsatian or a Labrador if you're in a small flat without a garden but a balcony. So it's just making sure to ask those questions before you buy to make sure that you're not disappointed down the line if any HAs or housing associations do have restrictions on that. So it's perfect. Thank you. Still so many questions coming in. Thank you so much. Right. What we'll do is, Frankie, there's quite a few here for you. If you want to buy more shares or sell your shared ownership home, who fixes the value of the share and how is that calculated?
So this will be done by a RICS qualified surveyor. We do have a panel which give us kind of competitive fees, but you don't have to use them. So you can go out and find your own RICS qualified surveyor. And that's kind of the initial stage. So if you're interested in buying more shares, you'd actually send us that valuation and we'd go from that, unless it was quite obviously not the price that it should be. And part of that valuation process is that they'll have to have comparable evidence in it. But that very rarely happens, that it's not right. And then we'll base everything on that.
Brilliant, thank you. What I will say, I can see quite a few questions on kind of mortgages, financial assessments, some individual finance questions. What I would say, and L&Q team, correct me if I'm wrong, this probably isn't the correct platform for that. What I would recommend for anything on that side of things is actually contacting a specialist mortgage broker. Lots of firms offer kind of free initial financial assessments to kind of figure out your affordability and whether shared ownership and such is right for you. So like Share to Buy, we have a broker partner, and I'm sure L&Q, you have a panel as well that they can contact. Perfect. Yeah, sorry guys, I can see quite a few finance questions. It's just probably not the right platform for this, and we want to make sure you get the right information. So definitely go to a specialist broker for that one. Lovely. And then back onto shared ownership. Nikki, with shared ownership, what if my partner already owns another property but I don't? Would we still be able to buy a shared ownership home together?
No, not unless the person's partner comes off, sells or comes off of that deed. If you wanted to buy together, in that circumstance, because the rule applies to both purchasers, not just one. In that circumstance, if it were deemed affordable, then you could buy in your own name. If it financially stacked, but no, you can't own or part own a property at the point of completion. It doesn't stop you, by the way, if you've got a property to sell, it doesn't mean you're not eligible for shared ownership. You can still do your registration, you can still do viewings. What I would say is it takes a few months to sell a property, sometimes more. It's worth waiting until you're further towards the point of exchange, because we wouldn't be able to take a reservation from you because you wouldn't be able to meet the 28-day exchange deadline. So it's a bit painful all round if you start looking a bit too early.
Fantastic, thank you so much. So I'm keeping an eye on the time. We probably have time for another question each. So again, thank you for sending all the questions in. We're still trying to get through as many as we can, but I'm aware that we're going to have to let you guys go about your day at some point. So back to London living rent. can I move to an alternative LLR property as and when the term ends on my current LLR home, Andrea? So would you be eligible for another London Living Rent property if you've already been in one?
Potentially, yes. There's no reason why you can't move from one property to another. If your circumstances change, for example, you want to upsize to a larger home. However, you would have to apply again. It wouldn't necessarily be given any prioritization because you're moving from one LLR home to another. You would make an application very similar to the way in which you've done when applying for the first home, go through the motions as I described in that process, and then hopefully be allocated a home based on your new needs, as it were. But the short answer is yes.
Fantastic. And then Nikki, back to you for shared ownership. I'm a 58-year-old first-time buyer. Can I still use shared ownership?
Potentially, if it's deemed to be affordable. So the main thing here is that the mortgage term would be significantly less than it would be if you were 20 years old. So, I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, I need to caveat to say, but generally speaking, lenders will lend up to 70 years old. So the standard term, 25 years, but can be up to 40 years if you're young enough these days. So it does depend on financial circumstances, but you're not excluded. We will also consider if there's a very high deposit, we'll consider a cash purchase, but you are obligated to maximize your share, and often this means getting a small mortgage even if you are a bit older. Again, it's one for the financial advisors, but it doesn't exclude you from shared ownership generally.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant that you know, it is kind of a scheme for all ages, but also for the person that was asking this question, anyone else that's interested, there is also a slightly alternate scheme called older person shared ownership, which is specifically for people aged 55 and over. And what that does is it's very, very similar to shared ownership. It works in a very similar way, but there's often like a cap on the top percentage that you can buy. So instead of 100% of the property, it might be that you can only staircase to 75%. So definitely worth doing some research on that as well, just in case it's a better fit and just in case there's some other developments there that might be a good option for you. So yeah, it's called OPSO, older person shared ownership. Feel free to have a look at that as well. And then Frankie, we've had quite a few questions just on kind of generally selling a shared ownership home. So, you know, the process. If you're in a shared ownership property and you're looking to kind of sell, what's the process there?
So you'd contact us, let us know that you're looking to sell. We would then organise for the floor plans and photos and all that kind of thing. Obviously explain the process that we've got 4 weeks to try and find a buyer for your home. The valuation gets done, so you're fully aware of how much we need to sell for. Something to note is that offers can't be made. So a bit like with new build homes, you need to sell for the price that the RICS valuation comes in at. A good thing is that if you actually end up selling for more than that RICS valuation, then you make the money on that on your share, like on the property value, and we don't. So we purely take that percentage back as such. It then gets uploaded onto all the property portals like Rightmove, on the market, and then we'll try and find a buyer for you. Like the presentation said, we do find a buyer for about 80% of our homes. We go on all the social media platforms. We have property of the week, so we are quite successful in that. We obviously know that most people that are looking to sell their property want to do it quickly, so we don't want to try for too long either. So we've just changed recently to 4 weeks. So we'll keep it for 4 weeks. If we can't sell it, then you're more than welcome to go to an estate agent and try and sell outright. And we will attempt to continue selling it if you'd like to.
Fantastic. All really good stuff. Again, I'm very aware that you guys are going to need to go about your day. So what I'm going to have to do is actually wrap up the Q&A for now. What I'm going to do is share this slide with you. Obviously, it has the L&Q website on there, so feel free to follow up with them if you're interested in any of their developments, any of the services they offer, the different tenures that they have available. That's pretty much it for now. I wanted to say a massive thank you to Andrea, Nikki and Francesca for joining me today. You've all done a fantastic job, answered tons of questions. I know it's been really, really insightful, and I can see people thanking you in the chat tool and stuff, which is very nice. Also, a massive thank you to our viewers who watched and engaged. We really hope you found the session useful. If you'd like to access the recording of the session, that will be going out across the Share to Buy website and our social channels shortly, so they'll be live today. Be sure to keep an eye out there. And if you'd like to be kept up to date with any future webinars, you can create an account with us at sharetobuy.com, or you can keep an eye on our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages. So that's it from us for now, but thank you again, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.